I suppose the first question is, why would you want to go inside council in Hereford Street and have all that stress that comes with it?
Yeah, good question. So my background already has quite a bit to do with local government. So my last job for a few years was working with the living wage movement as a community organizer. So I was quite involved with council, trying to get votes passed, dealing with the big council machine. The reason I decided to actually go for being a councillor instead was particularly around housing. Last year, me and my wife looking for our first home and just found it really hard, basically nothing out there except for what we ended up with, which works for us now, which is your classic, little white box, 2-bedroom, 2-story sort of spot. But when we look to have kids in the future, we're going to have to move house again. And we're just not building a city that works for families. So that was what motivated me mainly.
Well, it's a good motivator, that's for sure. So give us a bit of your background. What have you been doing before campaigning in terms of job?
Yeah, so from 2021 through till the end of last year, I was with the living wage movement. So
that actually was a full-time job.
Yeah. Well, it started off 20 hours a week, went up to 30 hours a week, but it was it was my vocation, I suppose. And that role was really around working with faith leaders, working with community groups, and workers themselves, and trying to get council, both regional and city council, to just pay their workers, particularly looking at security guards, cleaners, library assistants, just enough to live a decent life. That movement was successful for the Christchurch City Council, wasn't it? Yeah, absolutely. On both counts, actually. So in 2021, we got Christchurch Council on board. And the best part about that, I think, was that the cost to council was pretty low in the end. So we got 80 of their contracted cleaners up to a living wage. And when the contract renewed, and the council cost of that contract actually only went up by 1%, so less than inflation. And that's because of the tendering system meant that the contractors basically had to absorb the cost to come up with a competitive tender. So we basically got, in the city, we got 80 cleaners up to a decent wage, paying a fraction of the cost of that. And then the year after that, we got the regional council in Canterbury living wage, which was the first one in the country, which was cool.
Isn't it amazing to think, though, that you have to advocate to give people a decent wage to live on, particularly in the cost of crisis or cost of living crisis we're facing now? And you think to advocate for companies to pay more than the minimum wage, it's almost it's soul destroying in some respects. Nathaniel, you've decided to campaign on behalf of the People's Choice sort of Labour ticket. Why was that important for you?
Yeah, well, there's basically three big things that People's Choice. As a grouping, the three big things for them is against asset sales, which is something that's important for me as well, because I've worked quite a lot with the port unions. I know the guys down there, and I really don't want them to get sold out. Another one is public transport is big for People's Choice. Of course, that's more of a regional council thing. But what I hear a lot of, door knocking, is that people really want better bus frequencies. So I support that. And then the last one People's Choice is big on is taking care of the environment. And where I am in Heathcote Ward, the river is really important. I grew up close to the river. It's always basically felt a bit like an open sewer. And that's starting to change, which is awesome. And I just want us to keep doing that. So it was a pretty easy decision, those three things. Yeah.
For you personally, what, apart from, the issues that we face with housing in this city, what are some of the other campaign policies that you'll want to be reaching the community, particularly in Heathcote?
One of the big ones, and this is something I've picked up a lot on when I've been door knocking over particularly in Sumner and Redcliffs, is it seems like there's a lot of really shoddy maintenance work going on that's costing the council a lot more than it should. And I've noticed, you've talked about this, Chris, that Hallswell Junction area, where we're redoing the same bit of road 3 times in a row. So something I want to see is that we start to bring a lot more of those services in-house. So instead of getting contractors to do the work and getting paid every time they do it, we do it once, we do it well, we build the capacity in council, and then long term we're going to be spending less on our maintenance bills. So that's quite an important one for me.
It's a very good one. I don't know why. I mean, if you contract something out, then the price goes up, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, often in the short term, it goes down. And then when they've got you, then the price starts going up. But this is actually something I first encountered with the living wage movement when we were trying to get a living wage for cleaners in schools. And talking to a principal in mid-Canterbury, he was talking about back in the 90s when they first started all this contracting out the cleaning services, they get a sweet deal the first time around from the big contracting company. And when they don't have the capacity to manage the cleaners anymore, that's when the prices start to creep up. And we've seen this all across government, is this reduction in the actual capacity of government to do the work. And then the prices go up. And then there's no transparency as well. People have concerns about quality of potholes being fixed, all the traffic management stuff. And because it's all commercial sensitivity, you can't do information at requests. I imagine as a journalist, it's frustrating for you as well. Sort of thing. You
won't get information for a long time, that's for sure. I just thought of some things. I know that once I've published this interview on, people will ask this question. You probably know what's coming. What are your thoughts on, what do you call them, speed bumps?
Speed bumps. Yeah. Well, as I said, I've been doing a lot of door knocking, and honestly, people hate speed bumps if they're not on their own street. If it's on your street, people love it. But if it's somewhere you're trying to drive through, that's when the problem comes up. So I think it's like a tricky issue. As I said, I'm in Waltham. I don't know if I said that. And we are quite close to Brougham Street, and we had a speed bump go in opposite the school. And the boy racer noise, honestly, overnight was just down 90%.
Wow.
And I'm sure if you interviewed the boy racers, they would be very anti-speed bump. But personally, I was into it. And it's just similar with ones that I find really annoying, like the catch me roundabout, It was interesting how they did that poll, and residents, the poll showed overwhelmingly that residents supported it. Maybe there was an issue with the poll, but I think what it was is that those are the people who walk around that area. So they like it, and then people who are coming through, they kind of hate it. So I guess it's a tricky one. I think that the local community board level, they should make a decision about what speed bumps they want in their area so that it's serving the residents of that area. And our place is close to me where I'm walking. I want the cars to slow down a bit. So, yeah.
The other question I suppose I'll ask is there's, traditionally with local government elections, there's quite a low voter turnout. And I worry that may be the case in this election, given the fact that there's been several community board members who have gone into community board unopposed, and I think 3 councillors have gone back in unopposed as well. I don't know whether that means that people just don't care enough to make a stand, or whether the people that have gone back in, truly deserve it, and people think, well, I won't stand against that person because they're strong enough. It's probably a little bit of both. How are you feeling about things when you're door knocking? Are people engaged, or what's the sense you're getting? Because there's one other chap, I think there's only the race for Heathcote is only you and somebody else, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, when I started door knocking, a lot of people warned me that people were going to be really angry and it was going to be unpleasant and all that. What I actually found was that most of the time people are really nice, but the main depressing thing is how hopeless or disconnected people feel. You don't really get a lot of anger, you just get a lot of despondency. Honestly, I think it's just on us as politicians. We've just got to get out there and I've door knocked in areas around in Sydenham where people will say to me, I've been living in this house for 6 years and this is the first time a politician has ever knocked on my door. So in my view, if you're in politics and you're worried about voter turnout, you just got to get out there. You do the door knocking, try and do the social media so that you're getting to younger people as well. Just that's our job,
Social media. It's a blessing and a curse, isn't it, in some respects? Right. I'll give you your final chance. Give me your best pitch and free of charge. In terms of people wanting to vote in Heathcote, why should they vote for you?
Yeah, cool. So basically, if you want to see a Christchurch in the future, 30, 40 years, where we have a really thriving city centre that has affordable family homes that's dense so it can absorb the increase in population within that kind of 4 hours down to Brougham area. And we do that so that we can take the pressure off a bit in the suburbs with infilling, and we can also stop the sprawl as well. If that's kind of your vision as well, then I'm with you. I want to see a really vibrant city centre, and I want us to keep the beauty that we have in our suburbs. If you want someone who is hard-headed and realistic about council who's pushed stuff through the machine, who's counted votes, who knows how it works. I've got the experience. And if you want someone who's gonna be there and listen to you and knock on your door and be at meetings, cool meetings on controversial issues, and who's willing to change their mind on stuff, then I'm your guy.
Appreciate your time. It's nice to speak with you. I wish you well.
Cheers, Chris. Talk soon, hopefully.